is going down, my YouTube family? It's your boy Zeri back at you from Zeri's Mobile Gaming here tonight to talk to you about the fourth. I wish I could get this right, man. I suck at that. Fourth? There we go. Installment in the Noob series. It is Goblins. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say a couple things. Wanted to thank everybody out there for the support, the love. I love you all. Wanted to just remind everybody of the giveaway that is going on. So when I hit 250 subscribers, all you have to do is leave a comment on any video starting with the announcement of the giveaway. I have a whole spreadsheet, and you can be entered more than once. So any comment that you've left, it's in order. They are by number on the Excel sheet, and I'll go to a random number generator and pile that number and go to that person, and you will win either a $20 Google Play or a $22 iTunes gift card. So just wanted to remind everybody of that. It's just my way of saying thank you for the love, the support, the feedback, the interactions. I love all that stuff. So just wanted to say thank you for that. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. Also, I've gotten a few requests about goblins, so after this video, there will be a sneak peek of a video to come. So without further ado, let's get into goblins. So obviously we're on the test account, because my goblins are nowhere close to here in my real account. We're going to start with Major Shot. Major Shot is a goblin fighter ranger, and right now, currently the only leader we have for the goblin faction. His stats are as follows. His power is at 23,662, health 15,501, shield at 18,785, physical armor 30.37, magic armor 25.01, physical damage 29.98, critical chance 28.85, and speed is a 164. And if you have not seen my 10 lists of 5, he is one of the fastest base characters in the game. So let's check out his move kit. His first move is Machine Gun. It's his basic ability. It deals 220% of physical damage to the target and a 60% of physical damage to all other enemies. So definitely want to focus on physical damage for this guy, because the more you have, the harder that 60% is going to hit. Second ability up is the Little Goblin That Could. It deals 230% of physical damage to all enemies. Major Shot switches to battle mode. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. Using this again will cancel battle mode. Using an ability with battle mode has a 70% chance to stun an enemy for 1 turn. So definitely we have physical damage and we have potency, because stunning somebody would be sweet. Third ability, Flashbang, inflicts blindness to all enemies for 1 turn and healing block for 2 turns. So what I like about this move is that there is no chance. You're blind for 1 turn and you're heal blocked for 2 turns. This Flashbang move is super cool. Ability 4, Recharge. Major Shot restores 1 turn of a random ability at the start of his turn. And his leadership ability, Major I Can't Feel My Legs. Allied goblins deal 25% more damage if there are any members of the order in the enemy party. Upon landing a critical hit, goblins have a 50% chance to increase a cooldown of one of the enemy's abilities by 1 turn. So it's not a crazy good leadership, but there's stuff we can encompass into other goblins. Obviously, upon landing a critical hit means if you're going to use him as your leader, you want to make sure your goblins have a good crit chance, and the fact that they deal 25% more damage, that's pretty big. Definitely helps out. And of course, if you're fighting the member of an order in the enemy party, is the other thing in that little snippet. But what you got to remember is there are plenty of teams run with order party members in them. A lot of people run Snorri. He's order. A lot of people use Solius. He is a member of order. Freezard, member of order. Any panda. Ember. So there's a very, very good chance there's going to be a member of the order in the party. So what did we learn from Major Shot's move kit? Is we learned underneath his leadership we need critical chance. we learned that he is really based on physical damage and potency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a potency set on him, and I am going to put a damage set on him, bringing up his physical damage, bringing up his potency so he can land that stun, and hitting harder on his basic, which is an AoE. So I will be right back, and we'll see what it did to his stats. Okay, we got our runes done, and like I said, I went with a potency and a damage, so we gave him 20% more physical damage, and then we gave him 15% more potency so he can land that stun. What I did is I looked for damage secondaries, speed secondaries. He's already got a high base speed, but the ability to blind and heal block for 2 turns, I wanted him just to keep pumping that out, so I went with speed. I'd put on some critical chance, and I also added potency, and then anything survivability, because he does have a lower end of the health pool, so he can fall quicker. So let's take a look at each rune. In the northern rune, we have damage, obviously. Potency, hit twice. Shield, speed, health. Pretty good rune, increasing his survivability and his speed. Went with this speed primary. Health hit twice. Potency, critical chance, and damage. Then we went with armor, of course. Speed, health, tenacity, potency. In the bottom, I gave him 6% more critical chance with damage, armor, speed, and shield. And then I gave him shield, damage, armor, damage again, and speed. Love this rune. I love everything it did for him. If that armor was critical chance, it would be, or potency, it would have been the perfect for him. And then I went with the 17.25% potency increase, gave him some tenacity, damage, armor, and health. So let's see what it did to his overall stats. Looking at his overall stats, we increased his physical damage by 753, giving him 7551. We brought up his critical chance to 35.76. We brought up his health by 471. We brought up his armor by 1.5. Not the best, but we brought up his shield by 2819. We brought up his speed by 30, giving him 209, or I wish it was 294, 194 speed. We brought his potency up 36.84%, putting him at 46.84. We brought up his tenacity by about 3.3%. So overall, extremely happy with what we did with Major Shot. We improved his survivability, we got him fast, we brought up his potency, and we increased that damage. So coming up next is Adam. Adam is a goblin defender and a bounty hunter. Adam is the only tank in the goblin faction. So we have to keep that in mind. If you're running an all-goblin team, he is the only tank you got, and he's not very good. And it's because his taunting mechanism never procs, but we'll get into that. So quickly looking at his stats, his power is at 22,005. He has 26,450 health. His shield is at 27,246. Physical armor, 35%. Magic armor, 29.99%. Physical damage at 24.43, critical chance at 19.27, and speed at 100. Now, I said it in the last noob video that your tank, you want to get right around like 125, 130 range, and that's a really good spot for a tank to sit. So we're going to try to do that. So let's take a look at his move kit. His basic ability, Little Boom, it deals 80% physical damage to all enemies and a 40% chance to inflict a damage decrease for 2 turns. So we learned physical damage and we learned potency. Getting the damage decrease for 2 turns is pretty big, but it's only a 40% chance, so you really want to make sure he's got high potency. Ability 2 is the Mecha Uppercut. It deals 330% of physical and damage to an enemy and inflicts armor decrease for 2 turns. His third ability is Protective Plates. Adam gains shield equal to 40% of his max health. So we got a new stat, health. The more health you have on him, and he does have one of the higher health pools in the game, so that's already a plus. So 40% more health we stack on him, the higher that 40% in that shield is going to be. And his fourth and final ability is passive ability. Adam has a 70% chance to gain taunt for 1 turn at the end of his turn. I wish level 6 made that a guaranteed taunt, and then he'd be a much better tank. So what did we learn about Adam? is he is the only tank we got if we're running all goblins, so we got to use him. So we need physical damage, obviously. We need health. We need potency. So what we're going to do is we are going to focus on health and potency. So I will be back and we are going to rune him out and we're going to see what happens. Here we are, full rune amulet. I ended up going 2 health sets and 1 potency. That'll give me an additional 15% potency and an additional 20% health. So let's see what I did with each of the runes. Now remember, we're going for health, damage, potency, then survivability. So in the northern rune, the secondary stats of health, shield, crit chance, and potency. The shield hit twice. It has a nice health percentage on there, potency, and then the crit chance if it's run under a major shot lead. Remember, crit chance helps, so I was okay with that. Northeastern rune, speed primary, health, damage, crit chance, and armor, survivability, more health. Pretty good rune. The southeastern rune, I have armor, obviously, health, speed, and armor. Really good rune for him. Pretty stoked about that one. In the southern rune, I have the health primary with a tenacity, potency, armor, and shield. And then in the southwestern rune, I again went with health primary, health, tenacity, speed, and shield. And then I went with potency, shield, damage, armor, crit chance. So let's see what it did to his stats. So Adam's stats, we brought up his physical damage by 91. Honestly, I don't even care. I just want him to be the meat shield, and I want him to sit there. We brought up his critical chance by almost 4%, but we brought up his health by an astounding 74.25, bringing his total health to 33.871. Essentially, every time he uses his ability where he puts on a shield on himself at 40% of his health, he's adding about 13,000. Yeah, about 13,000 to his shield. That's a very, very big move for a tank. We brought up his physical armor by 2.4%, his magic armor by 3.23%. We brought up his shield by 12.22, bringing it to a total of 28.468. We got his speed up 26, so it puts him right around that 125 mark. We brought up his potency by 34.51, putting him at 72.51 potency, so that'll help putting on that armor decrease for the rest of his team to take him out. And then we brought up his tenacity by 3.61, putting his tenacity at 40.61, so that should help him not be stunned or taken out of the fight. So that's big. I really like what we did with Adam here. Next up on the list is Amara. Amara is one of my favorite goblins. Let's go to her stats. Or before we get into her stats, she is a goblin fighter mage bounty hunter. So her power is at 22,005, health is at 22,739, shield at 23,738, physical armor 29.01%, magic armor at 34%, magic damage at 32.98, critical chance is at 18.18, and her speed is at 140. She again is one of the fastest characters in the game, and that gives the goblins 2 characters extremely fast. Let's get into her moves. Ability 1, her basic ability deals 190% of magic damage to an enemy with a 50% chance to deal damage to an additional target. So that 50% chance doesn't have anything to do with potency, so we learned magic damage from her. Ability 2, Apocalypse Now, deals 230% of magic damage to all enemies and inflicts burning for 2 turns. And her third ability, A Good Seer, deals 340% of magic damage to an enemy, plus an extra 60% of magic damage for each burning or poison stack on the target. So what's really cool about this is you really don't want to use Good Seer until you use Apocalypse Now first. So you're going to put burning on all targets for 2 turns, then you would pop her Good Seer, dealing 340% of magic damage to an enemy, plus an extra 60% because they'll be burning, so 400% magic damage to an enemy. could cripple somebody. So that it's pretty cool to play around with in game. Her fourth move and passive ability, Entropy. Amara and Vanessa gave 5% of the turn meter for each burning or poison stack on the enemy at the turn's end. So Entropy completely just ties into her Apocalypse Now move. So you're going to apply burning to all the targets. So there is 5. So that's 25% turn meter you're putting on when her passive ability is at level 6. So what did we learn looking at Amara's move kit? If you don't have her Apocalypse Now ability at level 6, you want potency, but if you get it to level 6, you don't really need potency. So what you really want is damage, 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 speed, and survivability. You just want her to hit as hard as you can and go as often as you possibly can. I am going to take a pause. I will go damage, critical chance, foregoing the speed and looking for speed in obviously the northeastern rune and any secondary stats we can get. I'll be back. We are back with the full rune amulet on Amara, and like I said, I went critical chance and 2 damage. We are looking for secondary stats of damage, speed, and survivability, and that's really it. So let's get started. Obviously in the northern rune we have damage primary. I went with damage secondary, speed, critical chance, tenacity. Went with speed primary, damage, tenacity, health, critical chance. Armor, speed, health, potency, critical chance. I could not get a good speed, survivability, damage, secondary to proc on this. Just took me forever. So that's the best one I could find. So that's what I'm going with. We went with damage primary with speed, potency, damage, and shield. Then we went with health, speed, crit chance, damage, tenacity. And then damage, armor, shield, speed, and potency. So let's see what it did to her stats. Alright, so we brought up her physical damage by 424, but remember she does magic damage, so we brought her magic damage up almost by 1,000. 994, bringing it to 4292. We brought her critical chance up by 11.98% to a 30.16%. We brought up her health by almost 920, 919, physical armor by 116, magic armor by 127. We got her shield an additional 742. We brought up her speed 37, bringing her speed to a 177. Her potency, which was already high, we brought up by another 3.4%. Her tenacity up by a 4.7%. So overall, really happy. We made her faster, and then we made her hit a hell of a lot harder. That is a huge improvement right there, so super happy about that. Next up on the list, we got Sergeant Pigwold. He is a goblin fighter, ranger, and dragon slayer. His overall power is a 22,005. His health is at 15,048, extremely low side. His shield is at a 17,428. His physical armor is at 29%. His magic armor is at 28.99. Physical damage is at 3,039. Critical chance at 30.78. And his speed is at 129. So let's take a look at his moveset. We have his basic ability of Pig Shot. It deals 250% of physical damage to an enemy. If the target is below 50% health, it deals 310% more physical damage instead. Second ability, Lock and Load. Sergeant Pigwold gains charge for 2 turns, increasing his damage by 3 times. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. I like the fact that he is, charging himself up to do more damage. I just hate these moves where you don't do anything, so essentially you lose a turn. And with how much of a glass cannon he is, I just don't like these moves. Third ability is Rocket Strike. It deals 260% of physical damage to the 2 lowest health enemies. If this ability kills an enemy, it instantly refreshes. I love this move. I love the fact that it doesn't matter if there's taunt up or visibility. It automatically finds the 2 lowest and it goes after them, so it can really help you out, take out the pesky healer, or it can take out the damage dealer hidden behind a tank or two tanks or invisibility. It's just a really, really good move. And his passive ability. Sergeant Pigwold gains 30% physical damage increase, an additional 5% for each living goblin in the party. Awesome. So he is putting an additional 30% physical damage on himself. Then he is putting in another 25% physical damage if you run him with all goblins. So 55% more physical damage. I will take that all day long. So what did we learn from Sergeant Pigwold? He is a glass cannon. He is your definition of a glass cannon. No health, high damage. So what we're going to be looking for in his runes is damage, speed, and then nothing else but survivability. So I'm going to put a damage and health set on him, giving him the 10% more health and giving him more damage, and I will be back. The amulet's back, and you're probably looking at it saying, Zary, you lying SOB. You said you were going damage and health. Well, I thought about it. And I said, you know what? This guy's made to be a glass cannon. Let's treat him like a glass cannon. And I went critical damage, critical chance. So that way, when he uses his one good move to target the lowest health enemies, he's going to just do massive damage. So I put on 4 critical damage, which gives him an additional 30% critical damage, and a crit chance set, which gives him an 8% critical chance. And I switched up my secondary stats and just went straight damage, speed, and critical chance. So let's go over the runes. Obviously damage, critical chance, damage, speed, and shield. Speed, damage, shield, health. I have armor, speed, shield, damage, health. Critical damage, speed, shield, crit chance, and shield. I have shield, crit chance, damage, health, and damage. And damage, tenacity, health, crit chance, and speed. So let's see what we did. Alright, taking a look at his physical damage, we brought it up 234 to 3273. We brought up his critical chance 12.81% to 43.59. We brought up his critical damage by 54.15%, bringing it to 204.15. His health is up 671. His armors went up about 1% apiece. And his speed was up 27, bringing him to 156. And 1% on his tenacity. But you gotta remember that he gives himself 50% more physical damage, so that's why well, if you run all goblins with him, but that's why I scrapped the damage idea and went for critical chance, critical damage. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm really excited to play with him because I want to see how much damage I can actually do with him. Alright, next up we have Old Lore. He is a goblin fighter and a warrior. Power is at 22,005. His health is at 20,070. Shield at 22,251. Physical armor at 29%. Magic armor at 25.01%. Physical damage at 2878. Critical chance at 26.56. And speed at 119. His move kit reads as followed. Basic ability is left hook. It deals 260% of physical damage to an enemy. A dazed target will receive 340% of physical damage instead. Second ability, triple strike. Attack an enemy 3 times. Each attack deals 140% of physical damage. If all 3 attacks hit, the target is dazed for 2 turns. So we have physical damage in the first move, we have physical damage in the second move. And I learned from Shaolin, putting the accuracy over damage only gives you 6 extra %. So it's not worth it. Third ability, Old Lore gains a critical chance increase, a potency increase, and an accuracy increase for 2 turns. And he recovers 50% of his turn meter. So that's pretty huge. The accuracy increase is going to be big for him. So pretty much you'd want to go preparation before using his triple strike move to give him the extra accuracy to ensure they land so you can daze, and then you can follow it up with his left hook, increasing the damage. So pretty cool move kit. Let's check out his passive ability, and that is Hatred for Nature. Old lore deals 30% more crit damage for each living elf in the enemy's party. We can take from there that if we increase his crit damage, he'll do more versus elves, but you don't see him very often, so I'm not really going to focus on crit damage. So what did we learn? We learned this guy needs damage, accuracy, speed, because he's only at a 119, but he does recover his 50% of his turn meter. So this is a tough one. I don't know where we're going to go. We could go damage and give him 20% more damage. So you could give himself 20% more damage and maybe a crit chance. His health is pretty low, so you could give him 10% more health. You could put 10% more speed on him, but I think the damage and the health is the way we're going to go. A little survivability, a little damage. So we will go damage and health, and I will be back. Okay, our amulet is full damage and health. Didn't switch it up on you this time. Just going around quickly, I have damage, speed, damage, health, and armor. I have speed, critical chance, armor, damage, health. Armor, damage, health, tenacity, potency. Damage, damage, tenacity, health, and armor. Shield, speed, damage, shield, and health. And damage, damage, shield, tenacity, and armor. Really just wanted to focus on his primary damage, so we're going to see what it did to his stats. Looking at his primary stats here, we upped his physical damage by 912, bringing it to 3790. That's big. His magic damage went up to 272. We brought his crit chance up by 1.94%. Not really concerned about that. Like I said, I wanted to go for more just physical damage. Brought his health up by 2702. That'll help him survive a little bit longer. Physical armor and magic armor about 2% apiece. His shield up 3293. That's going to help. And we brought his speed up 26. Tenacity up 3%. So all in all, did what we wanted to do. Okay, the next two characters up aren't in the game, so we're just going to read their move kit, kind of talk about possible runes. So we have Vanessa. She is a goblin healer. Her first move is Poison Veil. At level 6, it deals 200% of magic damage to an enemy and applies poison sticks for 2 turns. So that's where the poison applies for other characters. So that's kind of nice that it is in the goblin party. Ability 2 at level 6 heals all targeted allies by 900% of Vanesa's magic damage and applies debuff immunity for 2 turns. That is the healing jar. And that is pretty sweet. 900% of Vanesa's magic damage with a debuff immunity for 2 turns. Pretty solid. Third ability at level 6, Assistant deals 300% of magic damage to an enemy and summons 3 random allies to help. And her final ability, passive Goblinology, Vanessa gains 10% magic damage increase for each living goblin in the party. If Amara is on the battlefield, she receives the same buff. The synergy between Amara and Vanessa is pretty solid, and I'd love to play with that combination. So you're looking at magic damage and potency, essentially, for early on. But really, you want to stack her with speed. You really want her to go really fast, and you want her to have as much damage on her as possible. So you could forego critical chance, you could forego critical damage. So that's the way I'd do it, is I'd go a damage set and probably a health set just to give her a little more survivability. And General Murdock is the final character. He is Goblin Tactician, Rogue Traveler, and a Leader. Love this character. Love what he brings to the Goblin faction. Let's look at his move kit. His first ability, his basic ability, Snare, deals 260% of physical damage to an enemy and inflicts damage decrease for 2 turns. So early on, that would be potency. So until you get it to level 6, you want to put a little potency on him. Definitely damage. Second ability at level 6, it's a trap. It deals 400% of physical damage to an enemy. If the enemy is afflicted by slow, it decreases their turn meter by 50%. If the target is inflicted by a damage decrease, it summons a random ally to help. That ties into his first move, where he inflicts the damage decrease for 2 turns. So definitely want to use his basic before you pop It's a Trap, then you're getting people to help you out. Third ability, Freezing Trap, deals 290% of physical damage to all enemies and a 70% chance to inflict slow for 2 turns. So Freezing Trap, that's kind of weird. His third ability, Freezing Trap, is used to increase his, or to decrease the turn meter of the opposition. So you pretty much want to go, obviously you'd have to use his basic first, but you'd want to use his third ability, then his second ability, then his basic. His passive ability is Fortified Mechanicism. General Murdock traps are 30% more effective against members of the Order and 60% more effective against elves. So again, we see the synergy with elves. His leadership ability, Accelerated Machinery. At level 6, all allied goblin boost their turn meter by 20% and have a 50% chance to summon a random goblin for help when dealing a critical hit. Can be triggered once per turn. So if you're attacking them multiple times, they can't go in more than once. So what I'd probably do for him is put a critical chance secondary with a damage 4 set. So looking at the goblins as a whole, they have a lot of cool synergies and they have a lot of speed behind them. They're severely lacking a tank for this team, and they need that meat shield to take the damage with a more reliable taunt than Adam. Vanessa and Murdock are pretty much key. Major Shot is a pretty decent leadership. It's definitely not as good as General Murdock's, but he is definitely serviceable until that comes in. But he's more of a counterpart. Now, if you had Vanessa and Murdock unlocked, the team I would run is Murdock, Vanessa, Shot, Amara, and Pigwold. Because Adam's taunt isn't that reliable. But you could probably blow through him fast. So if you wanted to use Adam, I'd take out Pigwold. But they got a lot of damage and a lot of speed. They kind of remind me of the Ewoks from Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Constant assists, constant, a lot of speed, a lot of damage. Except the Ewoks had a pretty decent tank, but that's besides the point. Okay, YouTube, that's what we got. The Goblins for Noobs is complete. So we have done humans. We have done the elves, obviously. We have done orcs. We have done pandas. We have done goblins. So who is up next? Pride. Pride will be coming up next. And then we only have demons left. So our For Noob series is almost over. And don't forget, coming up right after this video is the tease for one of my upcoming videos. Love y'all. Be safe. And I'm out.